1% of all children in this world have been diagnosed with autism, which translates to 20 million children, all right? And 1 million of these children are living in Kenya. If you're here for the first time, my name is Nema Lema. Welcome to Autism and Beyond. If you like our content, please go ahead and subscribe. So what exactly is autism? Autism spectrum disorder, or ASD, is a neurodevelopmental disorder. What that means is what happens in the brain and how this brain develops. Okay, so there are three major areas that these children who are born with ASD have challenges in. The first one is how they interact socially, then the second one is how they communicate, and then the third way is how they have repetitive restricted behaviors. So the first thing is social interaction. What does social interaction mean? Social interaction is most of them will lack eye contact. A child who is 6 to 8 weeks usually have a stable eye contact. Okay, this does not mean any child who does not have eye contact by 8th week they are on the spectrum. No, but it's something that is worth noting. Facial expression, most kids will smile by 6 months when you smile at them. Children who are on the spectrum usually do not understand facial expressions, and so they will not smile back at you. Even their facial expressions are usually blunt. The third thing is the way they handle their body posture. When you see a child on the spectrum walk, it will look a bit off, quote unquote, because of lack of a better word. They also do not understand emotional signals. If you're mad and you just show it with your face, unless you say it to them in a way they will understand, they will not get it. They have challenges in understanding reciprocity. That means this game of give and take, give that, it's a challenge for them. Okay, so something as simple as kicking the ball and then expecting them to kick back, it may be a challenge to them. Then they have reduced interest in shared enjoyment, and it is with this reason that they prefer to play alone. So you have a bunch of kids, but this particular child will want to play alone in a certain corner because they're just not interested in what everybody else is enjoying. It's difficult for them to understand the feelings of others. Usually because of this, most people have labeled them they're not empathetic. But people who are on the spectrum are empathetic as long as they're able to understand. To find a child or a person behaving in ways that you may think they're insensitive, maybe it's just because they just don't understand. It's also difficult for them to understand the achievements of others. So for example, you have this child who has done very well in whatever subject or whatever sport, and everybody is so excited about them. This child on the spectrum will just not understand why that is a big deal. Then most of these children are not comforted by touch. Now, a typical child, whenever they're hurt, whenever they're in pain, they'd want you to cuddle them and embrace them. A child on the spectrum, if they are hurt, if they are crying, you go to them, they'll push you away. So those are the social interaction challenges of a child on the spectrum. Then the second aspect is communication. You should remember communication is both verbal and non-verbal. By verbal, we mean they can actually use words to speak, like to express themselves. There are those ones who cannot use words to express themselves. Okay? Some of them have delayed speech. Not all kids with delayed speech are on the spectrum, but most of the kids on the spectrum have delayed speech. A third of children who are on the spectrum will not use words at all. Okay? We call them non-speaking children. Because when you're having this communication, the concept of I have to finish talking, then you start, is difficult. So this is something that you actually have to train them actively. And two people talking and they'll jump in and just ask a question, you answer them, they'll go. It's difficult for them to remain engaged unless what you're talking about is something that is of interest to them. And so for a child on the spectrum, especially when it comes to career and talent, you have to know what is of interest to them. Because once you know that, they give you 101% focus. You've heard one of the advantages of kids who are on the spectrum are hyper-focused. They can focus at one task intense way. And that's one of the reasons why they can really do a lot in details that most of the typical people are not able to achieve. When it comes to their speech, most of them, they'll repeat what you say. Now, depending with where they are as far as their speech development is concerned, So some will repeat what you tell them, and some will have echolalia. So echolalia can be immediate. That means you tell them, what is your name? They say, what is your name? Echolalia can be something intermediate, or long term. Long term echolalia is something they had last year, or they had in a movie, and now it just keeps on coming back. They keep on repeating that phrase. They keep on repeating that phrase. Most of the time, echolalia is usually can also be a sign of them self-regulating. Whenever they're stressed, whenever they're overwhelmed, whenever they don't know what to say, they'll just say that phrase. Then it's difficult for them to get the perspective of the person speaking. When you're speaking to a child on the spectrum, you need to speak to them in a literal manner. Don't use humor or any innuendos because they will miss it. Most of them are focused on their self-needs. So that's the second one. Now the third one is their behavior. So when it comes to behavior, most of the time their behavior originates from how the development of their brain is. Things like focus. If you show a child pictures of houses, let's say this is a bungalow, this is a mansionette, these are apartments, you cannot just call all of these ones houses, because for a child on the spectrum, these are not all houses because they look very different. So they usually focus on the details of things. That's how information is stored in their brain. They usually have very strong visual memories. So this is what I always like to say. They take pictures of scenes and scenarios and conversations. So when they retrieve, unless it has the same detail that matches whatever they know, then it ceases to be the same thing. This is part of the reason they love sameness and routines. Enter a room, there are 4 seats, and this is the order of seats. Tomorrow they enter a room, and these seats are not in that order. They will notice it, and once they notice it, they will rearrange that room. Or if it's their particular seat, they will want that same seat they sat on yesterday to be their seat today, because for them that is how information was stored in their brain. This is very critical for caregivers and also the people who interact with these children, because this alone can cause a lot of aggression. And you can imagine if you change that, whatever you want to teach them, you will not succeed, because you've disrupted how things are appearing in their brain. The other thing is they have this specific interest to shapes and objects. And then they usually have all these movements, flapping, rocking, shaking things. Sometimes it's shaking their head. And whenever you see all these things happening to them, you don't attempt to stop them. Why? Because it is their brain regulating how everything is in their world. That means the way they process their senses is different. By senses, we know of, the tongue, the nose, the eyes, the skin, we know those ones, yeah? But think of things like hunger, think of things like sleep. How do you know you are too tired to sleep? Your body tells you. How do you know you need to go to the toilet? Your body tells you. How do you know I've eaten enough, I am full? Your body tells you. For example, you're seated. How do you know where your joints are? Your body, you don't even pay attention, right? You're going up the stairs. How do you know how much height you need to lift your leg for you to go to the next step? Even if you close your eyes, usually you can go up the stairs. How do you know that? Your body tells you. Our bodies usually come with an estimate. With time, we have an estimate of how most things are. How do you know that if I need to pick a pen, I don't need to use a lot of force for an extent that my hand goes all the way up? Body tells you. So these are systems that are installed in our brain. So for those on the spectrum, all these things are different. You can be in a class, for instance, you're in a class and you have all these people talking, a light flickering, maybe now a teacher also talking, somebody's phone, even in a meeting. You have all these things going on, but you are able to actually tune your focus to the main speaker and hear and understand, ignoring everything else. A child on the spectrum will hear everything with the same intensity, including sensing the vibrations. How the sensory brain, the child on the spectrum's brain is. So unless you are able to calm everything around them for them to give you that attention, there's no learning that is going to happen to a child on the spectrum. And that's why we have to master, to understand how this child is. Now, the tricky aspect is there are no two kids on the spectrum who are alike, even if they are all on the same level. And that's why personally I believe each parent, each primary caregiver of a child on the spectrum should learn to master their child's behavior and understand them. If you do that, it becomes very much easier. I have a course on understanding autism. It's a beginner course, but it covers most of the most basic and fundamental things that I had to learn, and completely changed how I looked at my child. Share the link on the comment section. Okay? So please, just remember that.